This video is going over Priority Standard 5.5, which is called How Much for One. Our learning target today is if I know the price of multiple things, I can find the price per thing. This is also called the unit rate. So make sure you've done the warm-up. If you didn't do the warm-up, try it on your own. The answer is a decimal. I'm going to move to activity number 1. So activity number 1 is grocery shopping. So one place where we do use ratios like this and find out how much for one is when we grocery shop. And I use it all the time to make sure I save money. And when you save money, then you can use your money on other things. So a lot of times it will say 2 for $3. And to find out how much for one, we have to do some division and create ratios to help us figure it out. It may say 3 for $11, but if you just buy one, it doesn't tell you how much for one. So we're going to practice finding out how much for one. Starting with some avocados. So it says 8 avocados cost $4. How much do 16 avocados cost? So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a table each time. So I'm going to say avocados and money. So we know 8 avocados cost $4. First, let's find out how much for one avocado. And once we find out how much for one avocado, we can find out how much for any number of avocados. So I know to get from 8 avocados to 1 avocado, I have to divide 8 by 8, because 8 divided by 8 is 1 whole. So that means we have to divide 4 by 8. So I'm going to do some division. 4 divided by 8. 8 goes into 4 0 times. So I know it's going to be less than $1. Once I do that, I need to do a 4.0. I bring up the decimal point, and then I see how many times does 8 go into 40. And I know 8 goes into 40 5 times, and 5 times 8 is 40. Oops, I almost wrote 80. 40 minus 40 is 0. Okay, so I've used all my numbers, and I got 0.5. So in money, 0.5, I write it down. There's no other number, so that means I can put a 0 after the 5 because it doesn't change the value. Money has to have 2 numbers after the decimal. So this means it's 50 cents for every avocado. So now I can answer these questions very easily. So 16 avocados, I can do, 1 times 16. Oops, 1 times 16. Or and then I could do 50 cents times 16. If I know I can get 2 for every $1, there's lots of different ways to do it. I'm going to use this ratio up here. Since I know 8 times 2 is 16, I'm going to multiply $4 times 2, which would give me $8. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but whichever way you do is $8. And I'm going to write it in money, so it's 0.00. Then we have 20 avocados. So I'm going to say 1 times 20 is 20 avocados, so I'm going to multiply 50 cents by 20. So 20 times 0.5. I'm going to just keep it as 0.5. There is one number after the decimal, and I'm going to make a note of it, and then just do 20 times 5. 5 times 0, 5 times 2, and then I moved my decimal once, so it's 10.0 or just $10. Another way to think of multiplying by 0.50 is just it's half of the number. So 20, half of 20 is 10. So lots of strategies there. Okay. So I am going to get to 9. Again, I can use my unit rate to help me get to 9 avocados. I can do 1 times 9 to get to 9 and then do 0.50 times 9. I'm going to use what I know here. I know 8 avocados and 1 avocado would be 9 avocados. So I'm going to add the money. $4 plus 50 cents would be $4.50. So those are different strategies to help me get there. Whichever strategy you used is great as long as you got these same answers. Next question. 12 large bottles of water cost $9. So I'm going to set up a table. I have bottles and I have money. So I'm going to put my ratio in. 12 bottles cost $9. How many bottles can you buy for $3? So first I'm going to, for $3. So I'm going to put 3 on the dollar side. I'm not going to find the unit rate right away, so I'm going to just use my other ratio to get here. So I know 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I'm going to divide the bottles by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So at $3, I could get 4 bottles of water. Next one, what is the cost per bottle? Per bottle means 1 bottle. This would be a unit rate. So I'm going to put 1 right here. So I know to get from 4 to 1, I divide by 4. So that means I'm going to divide 3 by 4. So let's do 3 divided by 4 because this is going to be a decimal. 4 goes into 3 0 times. So I put a 0 here. Then I add a 0.0 to make sure I continue to find out what the decimal is. 4 goes into 30 7 times. So I put the 7 right above that 0. 7 times 4 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. Then I add a 0, bring down the 0. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. So this would be for 1 would be $0.75. So right, per bottle it's $0.75. Then the last one says, how much would 7 bottles of water cost? Okay, so I'm going to add a new row on my table. And I'm going to go to 7. So I'm looking 1 times 7 is 7. So I'm going to multiply 75 cents by 7. So if I have 0.75 times 7, there are 2 numbers after the decimal point. And then I just need to erase the decimal and multiply the whole number. So 75 times 7. So I'm going to do it over here. 75 times 7. 7 times 7 is 35. 7 times 7 is 49. And 49 plus 3 is 52. Then I made a note there's 2 numbers after the decimal. So I move it 1, 2 times, place it. And I got $5.25 for 7 bottles. So if you have different strategies to get there, that's great, but this is one way to do it. And you should get the same answer. Activity 2, more shopping. Yay. So pizza costs, this is on your paper, so just look, there's a picture of Mrs. Young. Pizza costs $1.25 per slice. That means 1 slice costs $1.25. At this rate, how much will 6 slices cost? So if we know 1 slice costs $1.25, then 6 slices is going to cost 6 times as much. So you'll just do $1.25 times 6. So once we find that unit rate, it really helps us. So we're going to start with the first activity. It says 4 bags cost $6. So we're going to say bags, and it looks like it's bags of chips, cost $6. So 4 bags of chips cost $6. We're trying to find the cost per bag, which is the unit rate. Per bag means 1 bag, so I put 1 under the bags. So I think 4 divided by what gives me 1? And I know 4 divided by 4 gives me 1, so I'm going to divide 6 by 4. So let's do some division. 6 divided by 4. 4 goes into 6, 0 times. Oh, sorry. Yes, that's incorrect. Even Mrs. Young makes mistakes. So 4 goes into 6 1 time. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. Then since I still have a remainder, I add a 0.0. And I bring up my decimal. And I bring down my 0. How many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. So it's 1.5. We know for money, we write 1.5, but there needs to be 2 numbers after the decimal, so we add a 0 if there's an extra spot. So $1.50 for 1 bag. So $1.50. At this rate, so meaning $1.50 per bag, how much is 7 bags? So to get from 1 to 7 bags, I multiply by 7. So I'm going to multiply 150 times 7. So I'm going to do 150 times 7. There are 2 numbers after the decimal, and just ignore the decimal now. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 1 is 7. Plus 3 is 10. I place my decimal, 1, 2. So it's $10.50 for 7 bags. And there's that. Moving on to question 2. Question 2. At a used book sale, 5 books cost $15. So I'm going to do a table. I have books and I have dollars, or money. What is the cost per book? So first put your ratio. We have 5 books for $15. per book would be 1 book. So to get from 5 to 1, we divide by 5. So we're going to divide 15 by 5 to find the cost per book. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So for 1 book, it would cost $3, and I write it as 3.00. At this rate, how many books can you buy for $21? So I'm going to do a new row, and under the dollars, I'm going to put 21. I know 3 times 7 is 21, so you multiply 1 by 7, and 1 times 7 is 7. So with $21, you could get 7 books if each book costs $3. Okay, last one. Neon bracelets cost $1 for 4 of them. Okay, so we're going to say bracelets and money. So we know 4 bracelets cost $1, so this is pretty cheap. What is the cost per bracelet? Per bracelet means 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we're going to divide 1 by 4. So if you know what 1 divided by 4 is already as a decimal, great, I'll just show you long division if you're not sure. So 4 goes into 1 0 times, then I add the 0.0, bring up the decimal. 4 goes into 10 2 times, 2 times 4 is 8, 10 minus 8 is 2, I add a 0 if I have a remainder. 4 goes into 25 times, so 5 times 4 is 20, and I subtract and I get 0. So that means each bracelet costs $0.25, or a quarter. So at this rate, how much will 11 neon bracelets cost? So you can use the table and multiply, 1 times 11 is 11, so multiply 25 cents by 11. So that's one way to do it, and make sure your decimal's in the right place. Or you could think about it. I know 4 bracelets are going to cost $1, so 8 bracelets are going to cost $2. 12 bracelets would cost $3, but it's 1 less. So I'm really just going to do $3 minus 25 cents. And I know that would be $2.75. So that's one way to do it. I'll show you the multiplying by 11 way. So if I have 0.25 times 11, there's 2 numbers after the decimal. So we're just going to erase the decimal and multiply. 1 times 1 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. Add a 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. Then add her up. And then we place our decimal, 1, 2. So it would be $2.75. So both ways help us get there, but there's faster ways to get there rather than multiplying it all out sometimes. Now, your job is to do the cool down. Make sure you read it and you label your answer, and then raise your hand to get it checked off.